What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? What it do, people? What it do? We are back another week. So grateful to God. Thank you to all my returning subscribers. I appreciate your life. Um, and if you are new here, welcome. I am your girl Empress. And this is Life in the Black Memoirs. This is your channel. And there's so much to cover. Everything the world has like been turned upside down. Thank you to Will Smith, right? We'll get into that just a little bit. I'm just gonna touch on it. The millions and billions of YouTubers have already, given their opinion from the from the elite, if you will, on down to the novice YouTubers such as myself. Um, but you know, we'll get into it. His situation kind of segues into what I wanted to talk about this week. So, not kudos to him and the behavior that was exhibited, but I am grateful for the segue. I guess too soon. I don't know. Anyway, like I said, if you're returning, hey, what it do? Drop a what it do in the comment section. Let me know that you're here. My family, I thank you for all of those who have reached out to me outside of, you know, putting something down in the comments. I thank you anyway. It's very much appreciated. But go ahead and let's get that comment section active. It is important for the algorithm, yes. And definitely hit the like button if you are not getting any notifications of my postings. Make sure that you are subscribed and the bell icon is black, because if you do not ring the bell, you definitely will be subscribed, but you won't know of the new content. So I want you to be engaged. Come and kick it with your girl, right? So now that that's out the way, if you're new here, definitely say what's up in the comments. I like to definitely say what's up back. But anyway, let's get into it. As you can tell by the just the temperature of the world right now, it is so much going on. And my close friends, they all know I always say, be mindful of the things that we see and what's really going on behind the scenes. A lot of this stuff is what I believe to be smoke and mirrors to the real issues at hand. And so let's get into a little history lesson, right? So everywhere on every news outlet, of course, Will Smith, he gave that 5-finger discount to Chris Rock, and that was insane. First of all, let's understand that the Oscars is like an actor's Super Bowl. So this is like the end all, the be all. This is where all the big players go to see, who's going to walk away with the trophies. And that's why this situation is so prominent, because it was done at an event that is considered to be very elite. Okay. And they just don't have that type of activity in that arena. So anywho, and this is like a history lesson, ain't got nothing to do with nothing, but I would be remiss, being the person that I am, not to even touch on it. So a lot of people are saying, it's the slap heard around the world. And that is not a new saying. The word slap is within that saying. However, it has stemmed from the shot heard around the world, which came from the Battle of Lexington and Concord. Okay, it started the Revolutionary War. So briefly, real briefly, like super layman term, Cliff noted. You can look it up. Uh, Somebody was trying to invade somebody, and then they don't know who shot first. They just know that somebody put one in the air, and then the Revolutionary War began. However, where this saying, the shot heard around the world, actually came from someone named Ralph Waldo Emerson in his 1837 poem called The Concord Hymn, who's the opening stanza. It says, by the rude bridge that arched the flood, their flag to April's breeze unfurled. Here once the embattled farmer stood, and the shot heard round the world. So this is where that came from. However, the actions taken by Will Smith, now it is the heard around the world. And it's so crazy. I'm not really a TV person, and so I didn't even know that the Oscars were on. You know, it's not my lane, so I'm not really interested, you know, in all of that per se. You know, congratulations to all the people who work hard to get to that point, and congratulations to all the winners. However, it's almost they and I don't want to say it, but I've heard another person on another YouTube say, you know, it's almost like they should be thankful for, you know, this little upheaval, because nobody was really watching the Oscars. And I'm not going to say nobody, but to me, it wasn't like a worldwide premiere. I don't know. I don't know. I don't watch TV like that. So, you know, don't come for me. Don't ring my doorbell. It's just not my forte. Nevertheless, what I really wanted to get into was what triggered Will. And that's the basis of this. We know what triggered him, supposedly, allegedly, right? Because I'm yet waiting to see the camera on Jada Pinkett Smith's face right before Will walked up. That's the only camera that we don't see is her face. We see everybody else's face except hers. So that should tell you right there, you know, we really, one of the reasons why I don't get, me personally, involved in people's life who seem to have it all. They're in the limelight. They have millions and millions of dollars. I don't really get involved. Why? Because they eat, sleep, and ish just like I do. You know, they put their pants on, shoes on, just like I do. And the only difference is that, you know, they have a career, or they were afforded the opportunity or worked hard to get to a position where they have a more financial, what I want to say, like, I don't want to say financially stable, because if they were like financially set, I think they wouldn't be doing any more movies and things of that nature. That's another thing. When you get to that state, you must continue to work, because now you put yourself in a lifestyle. Not saying that anything's wrong with that, but you have to understand that these $1 million houses that these actors and celebrities and what have you, they're living in these big houses and they're driving these cars, and guess what? They come with expenses. Okay, they have to pay light bills just like we do, and the bigger the house, the bigger the bill. So they have to keep working in order to maintain that lifestyle. But I digress. Getting into the whole incident of the joke being said, some people are saying that Chris Rock didn't know that she has alopecia, or whatever the case may be. It was a joke. I don't know, per the news feeds or whatnot. But one thing I hate when people, and I know you shouldn't use the word hate, but once again, diving into people's lives, you have no idea. No one has any um, inside knowledge. No one has the, sitting right by Will. Yes, a lot of their relationship, Will's and Jada's, their whole family, a lot of their interactions have been put out in the open, put on Front Street, put on front page for all to see. However, we are not in their house, so we don't see everything that's going on. Yeah, a lot of stuff is being aired out. However, we don't even know. I was just talking to one of my friends, and I was saying to them, you don't even know. Will and Jada could have had a fight before they stepped into the Oscars. I mean, when you're in a relationship, you have disagreements all the time. But if you have to go somewhere, then you act accordingly. However, if something happens to the point where it's going to trigger an already bubbling situation within yourself, then what we saw is what's going to ensue. And that right there is what I want to dive into shortly. I think I'm gonna start a trigger series. I had ordered some things to share with you guys, and not only share with you guys, but also continue to work on myself, because the object is to get better, know better, do better, right? Get to the point where we're living our best life. Shout out to Little Duval. Anywho, let's get into the definition of what a trigger is. Now, we all have our definitions of what a trigger is, and so I just did a quick YouTube dictionary definition search. And of course, a trigger, a small device that releases a spring or catch, and so sets off a mechanism, especially in order to fire a gun. So that's usually when we think of that, we think of either someone firing a gun or a cause, an event or situation to happen or exist. But I like this one. I think it was by Webster's. I don't know. But it says to cause an intense and usually negative emotion reaction in someone. And that's exactly what we saw. And unfortunately, it happened internationally. We can all say and give our 1 cent, half a cent, 2 cents, 50 cents on what should have been done and how it should have been done. We can all say that. However, no one is Will. No one. And when a person is dealing with a whole lot of things, and I can, easily speculate that he's been going through things simply because his relationship has been in the news for like the last, 2-3 years, if not more, in the negative sense, that is, unfortunately. I believe what he was dealing with and what he continues to deal with is a trigger. And we all have them. And I think, and I don't want to say I think, I know that because we don't take the time to really be honest with ourselves and be honest with those that are close to us, our friends, our acquaintances, our partners, our spouses, our, your significant other. When we don't have those deep seated conversations and we are able to be vulnerable with each other, we miss out on what triggers a person. We say things like, this is my pet peeve, but usually it's said in a way in which maybe the receiver or whoever you're speaking to really don't take it to heart, because maybe something you can't really sit down and say, you know what, I don't like this, unless you've been really thinking about it. There's tons of things that I don't like, but I deal with. because I realize, I've taken an internal, what do you call that? An internal account, if you will, on the level in which it really bothers me. So I typically don't let a lot of things bother me. And if I do, I go inside first. Go inside. Because, like the banner says, that's going across the bottom, is doing the inner work. And when we neglect, and I don't want to say refuse, but neglect to really do the honest work, our triggers are easily accessible to the outside world. Okay. uh in Will's, I want to say, written apology, I guess it was done on Instagram. uh I will just get to the part that I want to get to. It says, I would like to publicly apologize to you, Chris. I was out of line and I was wrong. I am embarrassed and my actions were not indicative of the man I want to be. There is no place for violence in a world of love and kindness. What I want to underline and put in bold, it says his actions were not indicative of the man he wants to be. And that's what I really want to home in on. We all are still works in progress. And by that, I'm not saying that any of the negative actions that we do to others is excusable. Because by all means, we should have some responsibility, self-responsibility, and take responsibility for our actions. Accountability, that's the word I'm looking for. And that just goes back to show you what I was saying earlier. Even though these celebrities, if you will, have millions and millions of dollars, and we looking to them, we see them on the big screen and so on and so forth, and we think that, man, you got it all together, you should have no problems. But Biggie said, more money, more problems, right? So just because you have commas in the bank, or your name is Googleable, you're in the Wikipedia, your IMD, I think that's for the movies or whatever, it does not negate the fact that you're human living on this earth, which means that you are susceptible, I can't even talk today, to having issues. Okay. I.e. problems, i.e. Uncomfortable situations. However, I'm not excusing what has taken place. What I want to dive in on is that the fact that he is in the limelight, but he still admits by his words that he's not where he wants to be in life. It's not indicative of the man he wants to be, which means that he is still a work in progress. Does that excuse what he did? Absolutely not. But I'm just putting it out there that money does not separate you. It separates your class, it separates your tax bracket, it separates, your time availability, your it increases your choices on where you want to vacation, what you want to eat, whatever. But it does not take away the fact that things are going to arise that can reach out and touch your feelings. And his feelings were indeed touched. Okay. And like us, like myself, depending on the situation, depending on who I'm around, and you could be anywhere, in a grocery store, you can be on the freeway, you can be anywhere. Man, some music that you hear on the radio could trigger you. Something that you see in a movie could trigger you. Anything that you deem, how I want to say, that you deem a dark area in your life or something that's going to tee you off. If you are a watcher of Family Guy like me, I love cartoons. uh Peter Griffin, he says, it just grinds my gears. So I think that we have to be in a position where we know ourselves. We need to be mindful of ourselves. We need to um, have some self-awareness about ourselves. And when I say need, I'm not, coming at you, speaking down to you, being degrading, because when I say need, I'm speaking for myself too. As I will always say, I am not up here and you guys are not down here. We are on the same playing field. We live on planet Earth. So we're on the same playing field. And when I am speaking these are things that I talk to myself about all the time. And so, getting back to this situation, it's really, really, really unfortunate that seemingly, because like I said, it appears that they are friends. And things happen between friends all the time. Once again, the violence, unexcusable. It shouldn't have happened. I just want to home into why doing the work is so important. Because if you're doing the work, if you're actively doing the work, not just saying, oh, I need to do some inner work. And for those on the spiritual side of the game, it's called the shadow side, doing your shadow work. It's very, very, very uncomfortable. That's why nobody ever does it. However, if you don't tackle that shadow side of you, i.e. these triggers, then you can find yourself in a situation where that unhealed part of you will rise up and take the driver's seat, if you will, and then you're left holding the bag because you're refusing to deal with past hurt, i.e. triggers. Trust me when I tell you, I am doing the work. And as I have said in other videos, if you start doing the work, it gets easier to do it, because then you find out that you can be successful in looking at some situations in your past and actually dealing with it, not just packing it up in the back in a box and throwing it in the back of your mind. I call it like the storage facility where all these incidents have happened to you. But then when you come across someone and you haven't healed, because no one can heal you, the healing has to come from within. And whatever you don't heal from within is bound to come out. Like that old cliche is, whatever's done in the dark will come to light. My grandmother, God rest her soul, would always say, it'll come out in the wash. I've heard my mom say it. I think it's like a Southern saying. But needless to say, if you don't do the work, there are going to be things that are going to come and test you. And just like at this situation, it didn't matter that they were at the Oscars. Something was said that triggered something within him. Going back to the definition, usually it calls an intense and usually a negative emotion reaction. Okay, it's a trigger. So as I said in previous videos, and I will always say it, whatever you don't deal with, you're going to have to deal with. Whatever you resist will persist. So let's just say if your hurt stems from childhood, and that's usually where it stems from, I want to implore you, and this is something that I do: pick something that you have been avoiding to deal with. Because trust me, somebody's gonna come and step on your white Air Force Ones. You know what I mean? Figuratively, not literally, hopefully, and test you and test whether or not that portion of your life has been healed. And if it hasn't, just imagine, I don't know you guys' ages, but let's just throw some things out. If you dealt with something, in your adolescence, in your teen years, and then something comes to add on to that in your early 20s, and then something comes to add on to that in your early 30s or whatever, it's just a snowball of things that are continuing to follow you. And I don't want to use the word damage, but it is a form of damage. It's almost, and I hate to say the word cancer, but it just comes and eats you up. It comes in and metastasizes and goes all through your body, and it brings you down. It lowers your vibration. It literally disrupts your forward progress. And that's what we're here to do, is to move forward, to be better, to live our best life, be the best versions of ourselves. If we don't deal with these things, can you honestly say that you are living your best life? Can you honestly say that you're living the best version of yourself? Trust me, I know nobody wants to do that work, but until you sit down and do it, because no one can do it for you, triggers are going to happen. And how detrimental they are is going to depend on what portion or what stage your healing is at. If you haven't done any inner work, if you haven't even everything's still packed up, you lost the key to the storage facility, then whatever triggers you is going to come around. Those are lessons in life. And I'm getting to the point where I'm almost grateful for I don't want to say problems, but uncomfortable situations. Why? Because it causes me to sit myself down and figure out what to do. Not to lash out, not to respond inappropriately. And once again, if you respond, hopefully that comes from a place of you've sat yourself down and you figured out, the proper plan of action to take to deal with whatever this trigger is. But usually a reaction from what we saw, Will got up, walked on stage and kabow yow, you know what I'm saying? That was a reaction. Why? Because I can, by means of deduction, can say that the inner work has not been done, and maybe he's overloaded, and with everything going on in his life, like Dave Chappelle, maybe you should just go off the grid for a second and go and collect yourself, go and ground yourself, put your feet in some dirt, some sand, I don't know, but take some time out to deal with what triggers you. Do you even know what triggers you? Because once you start going back, you'll start to realize, oh man, I didn't even know that I didn't like that. And a lot of things we don't know what we like until we're hit with it. But if we take the time, on the weekend, take some time to meditate, figure out what's going on, do some soul searching. I didn't even ask the question, man, how's your soul doing today? See where you are, see how you're feeling, get present with yourself. And you practice mindfulness, self-awareness, all these things that, we always say, oh, that's for therapists. Oh, that's for, people who doing this. But these are actual really this. Because it's the same as talking to a best friend, a confidant, if you will, on what's going on in your life. And if you don't take that time to deal with it, and I'm sorry to sound like a broken record, you end up hurting the people that are closest to you. You end up pushing away the people that love you, that actually would be willing to help you cross that bridge, if you will, to deal with your trigger, to heal from your trigger. It's a horrible domino effect. So I don't want to keep going on. Just know that Will is in a transitional stage, as we all are. The fact that he is well known does not negate the fact that he is a human being. And I will stress on the fact human being. I mentioned him in my last video, I believe. One of my mentors, he doesn't know it yet, but Zoe Williams, he says that human being, we're in a process of being, okay? Yes, we're doing things, but we're existing on this earth. And while we're existing on this earth, God wakes you up in the morning. Be thankful for one, but set off to be the best person you can be. Be better than yesterday. Ask yourself, what haven't I tackled? Because whatever you haven't tackled, it becomes a wedge between you and other individuals. Because we're not on the island, like I said last time. We're not like Tom Hanks on the island just with a soccer ball, Wilson. We have to go to work. We have to interact with people at the bank. We have to interact with people at the grocery store, at work, our family members, our spouse, significant others, whatever. We're not in an island by ourselves. So we have to be mindful of ourselves. We need to know our limits. And not only know our limits, but what happens when somebody comes and boop, 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 and press those buttons. You know what I mean? What happens there? Do you have like a pressure relief valve within yourself where when you're faced with something that triggers you, that you can count to 10 or pause or, close your eyes or do something where you're not going to react in such a way that is going to cause more issues, separate you, make you look like an idiot, do something that you can't take back. And I don't know, I really, it's crazy. I'm on YouTube, right? But I really don't try to get involved in all the media. I don't watch news. I haven't watched news in, I don't know, maybe close to 10 years, because it's like 90% negative, not even 90, like 95, 97% negative. And, with me wanting to be and striving and doing the work to be the better version of myself, me being bombarded with negativity is just going to put a damper on my progress. So I don't even engage. Usually I find out about things when I go to work and my coworkers tell me about it, but I'm not the type of person to get home and turn on the news, wake up and turn on the news. No, I wake up and pray. I get up and I thank God, because the news is not waking me up. If anything, it's lowering my vibrations. So I don't even go down that road. And I would send out a challenge to you. Take an inventory of what you listen to musically, what you watch on the TV. What does that do to your spirit? What does that do to your vibrations? It's some music where, you could be driving on the freeway. If I know I have to go a long way, I like to listen to music that get me pumped. I don't want to listen to something that's going to calm me down, because it makes me sleepy. So, there's always going to be things that strike different moods in you, but understand this. Just as it strikes different moods in you, there are going to be things that's going to strike a chord and is going to play on that trigger heartstring, emotional string. And we, because I'm including myself, must It is the need. It is imperative that we are in a position not to, latch out, reach out with aggressiveness, react in a negative manner, react in a lower vibrational way. Why? Because all it does is create even more of a separation. So not only are you now dealing with this trigger, now you're dealing with how you reacted, and then depending on what has happened, now you got to deal with the consequences. And to me, that's just too much work. I'd rather work on me to the point where when that trigger and then I say when because it will, I'd rather get to a point where I can stop it when I see it coming, as opposed to not doing anything about it, and then I have this this horrible domino effect that I have to end up trying to clean up. And it's just not worth it in the end. Really, it's not. And it's unfortunate that this has happened. Hopefully there is something that can be done where both sides, all parties, can come to some type of resolution. However, do the inner work. That's all it comes down to. I'm getting ready to close this thing out. I think what I'm going to do, really, I really think that I am going to start a small segment, a couple of videos on some things that may be triggering. And maybe if you don't know what triggers you, maybe these exercises that I will present that are helping me can help you. Once again, drop your comments in the section. Let's get the conversation started. I want to leave you with two things that I saw, Instagram posts or whatever. It says, you are always responsible for how you act, no matter how you feel. Remember that. Once again, you are always responsible for how you act, no matter how you feel. Remember that. The second one, please don't trigger. No, sorry. Let me go back. People don't trigger you. Okay? Let me just say that line. People don't trigger you. They trigger your trigger. You are not your trigger. You are moved by your triggered reaction. Your trigger usually points to what you need to heal. You are responsible for your trigger and healing. Once again, people don't trigger you. They trigger your trigger. You are not your trigger. You are moved by your triggered reaction. Your trigger usually points to what you need to heal. You are responsible for your trigger and your healing. So like I say, doing the inner work is the new sexy. I don't care, how much money you make. That is clearly seen by, this past week's interactions, that it does not matter how much money you make, where you live, what your zip code is, who you buddy up with. If you don't do the inner work, things are going to take place where it is going to be exposed on what you're not working on. So if you don't want to be exposed, do the work. It'll help you. So when you guys are watching this, I always like to get these out on Thursday. I always like to say, it's Thankful Thursday. Hopefully you're not waiting to the viewing of this video to say, oh my God, Thankful Thursday. Hopefully you're waking up with a grateful heart, going throughout your day and just thanking God for the things that we may take for granted on a normal day-to-day basis. So what I am thankful for, you know what? I am thankful for the willingness to do the inner work, because a lot of people are not willing. They scared to go down that path. This channel is for us. I'm here sharing these things, pulling you, encouraging you, inspiring you, encouraging you to go down those hallways. Go to that storage facility and grab a box. Get your knife, your box cutter, and tear open that box and look at what needs to heal. Because the sooner you heal, the better, and I can say that, the better your life will be. Because that weight that trigger is adhering to, it disrupts your relationships. It disrupts the relationship you have with yourself, and then you exude, just this lower vibrational aura about yourself. And it's not a good look. Trust me when I tell you, I understand. There were many things that I didn't want to go to that storage facility and go grab those boxes. But if I am looking towards my future, God willing, I get there. I'm not there by myself, but I would like to have, my inner circle around me. I would like us all to be at the healthiest part of our lives we can be. But it starts with you. It starts with me, because like attracts like. Misery loves company. The unhealed will attract the unhealed. And then y'all be unhealed together. And then you'll wonder why the toxicity continues. And that's because nobody's getting off that wheel, that merry-go-round of not doing the work. So, yeah. Get it within yourself. You can start today. Start right now. Do the inner work. Help yourself. help you not to be put in a situation where, you're going to have to be looking for the dustpan and the broom to try to sweep up the catastrophe that followed a reaction that could have been prevented if you sat down and you did the inner work. Okay? So, with that being said, I hope your soul is doing well. If you want to just chit chat with me, you want to run anything by me, I'm definitely free and open. My email is going across the bottom, and it'll also be in the description box. You can remain anonymous if you would like to, but I'm here. Why? Because in all things, I believe that two heads are better than one. And there's a saying that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. Okay, so as I am here for you, let's be here for each other. This is a safe space. Okay, and so other than that, I pray nothing but the best for you. Go to your storage facility within yourself, open a box, and deal with the contents, and you'll be glad you did. Okay, and I will see y'all on the next one. Peace.